Good morning and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about ISO, what it is, how it affects your images. If you're new to this channel, my name's Ben. I am a content creator around cars, filmmaking and everything in between. Also, a caveat, I may not be the best today because I've got a bit of a flu, so please bear with me. But yeah, stick around if you want to know what ISO is, how it affects your images, and stay tuned. Also, in the description below, I will link a free cheat sheet for you to follow along. If you don't use it to follow along throughout this video, you just want to listen in, happy days. If not, just download it, put it on your phone or on your laptop, and then when you're out and about, you can have a gander at it and use it for hints and tips. So what is ISO? In simple terms, it is the way that your camera can increase the light of your image without affecting your shutter speed or your aperture. Within exposure, you have the exposure triangle, which is aperture, ISO and shutter speed. We'll move on to aperture and shutter speed in another video, but you need these three things to form a balanced exposure, and you can manipulate these different things depending on what the outcome of the image or video that you require. Now, in scientific terms, the way your camera adds electronic charge to the sensor to increase the light sensitivity of the sensor. That is essentially what ISO is in digital form. In old school wet film, you used to have different films that were already a specific ISO, and that would basically manipulate the sensitivity of the light on the film. Now, ISO on your camera will be measured in like hundreds, for example, and it doubles every time. Don't worry about that bit for now, but in whole stops of ISO, you'd have 100, 200, 400, 800, 1600, 3200, 6400, and it goes all the way up to the millions. I'm not going to go too crazy into some of the things, but in video terms, you would have some cameras that will have a dual base ISO or a triple base ISO. Like I said, I'm not going to go too crazy, but for example, the Sony FX3, when it's shooting in log form, which I'm not going to go into, shoots at 800 ISO and 12,800 ISO. Some cameras are really good in ISO with photography to get a really clean image at high ISOs, but they're usually a low megapixel count. What you'll find usually is if you have a high megapixel count, you'll have very noisy images. So for example, I use the Canon R5 at the moment for work. That's like 45 megapixels, I believe, and it's not that great for ISO. And like I said, with the FX3 that I've used just recently with video, because it's quite a low megapixel camera, it's like 12 megapixels. With video, you could go all the way up to the dual native ISO, which is 12,800, and you get a ridiculously clean image. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to break out the whiteboard. I have a good whiteboard behind me somewhere that you can see, wherever it is. I'm going to use that for demonstration purposes, just to show you what ISO can do and how it affects your images, and then we're going to head outside and I'll show you on the camera so that you can head out with me and follow along. So I happened to choose the biggest whiteboard. I didn't realise how big it was going to be, to be honest. Okay, so we're going to be talking about ISO. Can't remember what it stands for, but as a Google it, it's what it is. You don't really need to know. But let's pretend we've got our sensor here. This is going to be the three different stages. So let's say we've got 100 ISO, 800 ISO, 3200 ISO. So this would be dark, or letting in the least amount of light. When you go along here, it goes brighter. Excuse my 4-year-old style writing. So darker, this goes brighter. Let's get rid of that, because that's not necessarily going to be dark, but it gets brighter as you go along. This could be balanced, and this could be overexposed, but that's neither here nor there. What you need to know is the higher the number that goes up when you're doing stills, usually. A bit different with video, but we're not going to talk about that too much today, because of the dual native ISOs that I mentioned. This would be a nice clean image, and as you go up further, you start to, hopefully you might be able to introduce that. You can see that you can introduce digital noise. Now, the higher you get, the grainier or the noisier. I might have enough room this side. Let's put one here. Let's say we're going all the way up to 6,400. Maybe 12,000 further up this way, but if you're doing stills, likelihood your camera will do 6,400. This could be like crazy noisy, and you'll have a really grainy image. So let's get rid of that. You can use software. There you are. You can use software to denoise or noise reduction, it might say, on your software, but all that's doing really is kind of like, I don't know about scientific terms, but the end result is the fact that your image might look a bit soft, a bit muddy, less detail, less sharp, and when you try and resharpen it, you just go around in circles where you're trying to sort your image out towards the end. So it's always best to try and get your image sorted out like in camera instead of doing it in post. We're going to head outside now, and I'm going to show you what noise does. Then we're going to head back into the studio, and wrap up the video. And here we are outside. The light keeps going bright and dark, flipping in and out exposure like it is literally just right now, because the sun's going in and out, so that's annoying. But I've tried to pick a spot where it is dark in the shadows to try and emphasize the car, in the shadows, to try and emphasize the ISO. That's what I was going to look at. So what we're going to do now is going to set up the R5 and take a couple of images, one with a clean image, one with a noisy image, and explain how the ISO can change your images. So let's get onto this right now. In this image here, I'm at f2 on the aperture, ISO 160, because that's as low as it goes on this particular setting, because I'm videoing it as opposed to video in the back of the screen. I'm going to video in the camera, and I'll show you a photo. And then I'm at 250th of a second. Excuse me. Oh my god. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take an image, and then we can see how clean it is. So I'm going to do that now. And as you can see, it is clean throughout in the shadows. Pretty good. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to put it up to F. We're going to go literally F22, just so that I can show you the difference. So we're going to darken the image with F22, and then I'll get it all the way up to 25,600. So we're now at 25,600, and I'm going to take an image, and then you're going to be able to see just how minging, just how dirty it is in the shadows. So I'm going to take a photo now. As you can see, it's pretty grainy. I'm going to do side by side now. Side by side with the 160 ISO, and then we'll do the side by side with the 25,600. Sheesh. The reason why I can't say that number very often is because we don't shoot that very often. But yeah, happy days. So Just had a nice lady just come up to me then to cut recordings. So the exposure's probably changed a bit, but this is like almost impossible light to film in. I wouldn't recommend filming in dappled light with the trees. But there we go. I'm limited on some of the locations that I can actually film, be it quiet and stuff like that. Also, I'd like to announce that it's not always great to have a Citroen. I'm trying to get a new car at the moment, and I'll give this one to my wife. But I'm waiting till I can save a little bit more cash monies. But I didn't want to put off making these videos. I'd rather just make them, put the knowledge out to you guys and girls. And yeah, I didn't want an excuse to take photos of a Citroen to be a showstopper for the video. But I kind of lost my track now because that lady stopped me and asked questions about what I was doing and why I've parked the car the way that I've parked it. But there we go. Anyway, we're going to head back now, back to the studio, back to my house, and get a conclusion from this. But I hope you learned something from this bit. Let's head back now. So welcome back in. Hope you enjoyed that little bit outside. Hope you followed along and came out with me, took your phone out with me, just have a look, or you did it in your studio, and you can see what ISO does. So why should you care about ISO? Because it kind of gives you the control. Imagine you're shooting out and about at dark. You need to brighten up your image. Just be aware, like I said earlier, that you'll see it in the shadows, and it's not always a great thing. So you need to just be aware that you try and get your ISO closest to the base ISO of your camera if you're shooting a video, or lowest, closer to 100 or below if you're shooting stills. And that really is ISO in a nutshell. It's all about the light sensitivity and balancing the brightness and managing the noise, really. It's a way of increasing the light of your exposure of your image without physically changing the image like aperture and shutter speed does, which we'll go on to in another video. So next time you're out and about, if you didn't follow along outside with me, just have a little play around with it, start low and crank it up and see what happens. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, really helps me out. Drop a comment and let me know how ISO has affected your images or your video. And please comment below if you ask any questions whatsoever, if you'd like me to cover anything camera related, tutorial related, anything like that. Happy days. And also remember, I put a cheat sheet down below, a free cheat sheet. Doesn't cost you anything. It's in the description below. I'll link it. Download that, have a gander, and let me know what you think. Also, if you've made it this far in this video, I have put a car beside me, one of my little Hot Wheels. Let me know in the comments below which brand and model of car it is. Little fun thing I thought I'd add in there because I've got loads of Hot Wheels, and I'll mix it up throughout different videos if I remember. So yeah, thanks very much for watching. Like, subscribe, all of those cool things, and I shall catch you in the next one.